SCP-2001, a space oddity. Like, it's so cliche for the actual movie or the novel series. I'm really not sure. I don't ever remember watching the movie, but I'm sure we'll find out some pretty cool stuff. This one is by the Vulcan guys. Make sure to subscribe to him. Subscribe to me if you like reaction videos, and let's get into this one.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Dr. Miller.
My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-2001. Object Class Keter.
Or Keter, however you say it.
Special Containment Procedures. No means of containment or prevention of SCP-2001 is currently available to the Foundation. In lieu of this, several alternative procedures have been established. Gamma-type individuals and Beta-type individuals not affiliated with NASA or any other space-related organization should be monitored and detained if necessary. Individuals employed or affiliated with space-related organizations who show signs of Gamma or Beta-type infection should be removed from service and administered amnestics. Effective October 21st, 2000, all individuals afflicted with Alpha-type symptoms should be detained in Wing of Sector. Under no circumstances should Alpha-type individuals be allowed access to any astronomical or spacefaring equipment. Mandatory SCP-2001 screening is in effect for all Foundation staff. Addendum, April 22nd, 1990. In light of Incident 2001-1990, A. All Foundation employees showing symptoms of SCP-2001 are to be removed from service immediately. See Incident Report 2001-1990. A. Level 4 clearance or higher.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Description. SCP-2001 is an anomalous series of neural oscillations that occur during 3 of the 4 stages of human sleep. During one of these 3 stages, the amygdala spontaneously enters a state of heightened activity for a period of 10 to 15 minutes. Awakening the subject during this period appears to immediately switch the response of the individual to alpha type regardless of the sleep stage in which SCP-2001 activity occurs. At the conclusion of SCP-2001's active state, the subject is conditioned to one of 3 responses, designated alpha, beta, and gamma, depending on the sleep stage in which SCP-2001 occurred. SCP-2001 appears to show no increased presence in individuals of any race, creed, or gender. No genetic abnormalities have been associated with SCP-2001. Spectrographic analysis of SCP-2001 suggests that its presence may not be intraneural, rather that it may originate from an outside source. Of particular note is the fact that SCP-2001, particularly the alpha strain, has recently begun affecting a proportionally large population of astronomers, astronauts, and individuals who otherwise deal with space.
So what is it,
Individuals who already possess a critical attitude towards space exploration generally exhibit no anomalous effects from SCP-2001 activity.
So they have to be
There appear to be 3 types of responses to SCP-2001 infection. SCP-2001 has not been documented to occur in the first stage of NREM sleep. Gamma. Subjects who experience SCP-2001 during the second stage of NERM, non-rapid eye movement sleep, are designated Gamma-type individuals. Gamma-type individuals are almost indistinguishable from the ordinary population, save from a disparaging attitude towards the topic of space travel. Gamma-type individuals show an active aversion to discussing space or space exploration in conversations and will avoid any and all organizations pertaining to the study and development of human space exploration. It is estimated that % of the population is currently affected by Gamma-type symptoms of SCP-2001.
Interesting.
Beta. Subjects who experience SCP-2001 during the 3rd stage of NERM sleep are designated Beta-type individuals. Beta-type individuals are characterized by a distinct opposition to space exploration. Beta-type individuals will denounce the importance and safety of space travel in conversations, citing it as extremely dangerous or fruitless. Also common among Beta-type individuals is the tendency to construct elaborate conspiracy theories regarding humans in space. An estimated % of popular space-related conspiracies are directly linked to one or more Beta-type carriers, including. Of note is the fact that the aforementioned individual had never had contact with the SCP Foundation or any of its affiliates.
Alright, now what's Alpha?
The presence of SCP-2001 during any stage of REM sleep produces an alpha-type individual. Alpha-type individuals actively attempt to stop or sabotage all forms of space travel. Individuals displaying symptoms of alpha-type infection will attempt to harm or otherwise interfere with individuals, centers, and activities that pertain to space research or travel. An Alpha-positive Foundation researcher was directly responsible for Incident 2001, 1990.
I see.
Level 4 clearance or higher.
Okay.
Document 2001-1. Incident Report 2001,
Oh, here we go with the incidents.
A. Level 4 clearance required.
I guess what happened to...
Deploying security mimetic now.
Don't look.
Date: April 22nd, 1990. Location:
Wow.
Foundation Outpost 12 within NASA Command. Coordinates. Note: Junior researcher was in perfect mental health at the time of the incident. No, he was not insane. No, he was not under any form of psychic control. He was an alpha-type carrier of SCP-2001, and that is all. Dr. The following takes place during the launch of SCP-S, a manned Foundation shuttle tasked with the investigation of SCP. A crew of Foundation supervisors were on hand to ensure safe takeoff and report any anomalous activity. Junior researcher was tasked with the observation of status readings. 12:37 p.m. Head researcher reports successful preparation for liftoff of SCP-S. 12:37 p.m. Junior researcher reported to become extremely agitated. 12:38 p.m. SCP-S achieves liftoff. 12:38 p.m. Researcher begins yelling unintelligibly to nearby staff. 12:38 p.m. Junior researcher produces unknown artifact resembling control pad, now classified as SCP. 12:38 p.m. Researcher begins to operate unknown artifact. SCP-S reports several system failures. 12:39 p.m. Unknown artifact is confiscated by Dr. SCP-S reports total loss of power. 12:39 p.m. Communications with SCP-S cease. Exterior hull of SCP-S begins to break down. The resulting explosion was explained to onlookers and the press as a GPS satellite that had suffered a fuel leak during launch. No Foundation witnesses were administered amnestics. Following the above events and posthumous diagnosis of junior researcher with SCP-2001, containment procedures were altered to provide stricter containment of SCP-2001 alpha carriers. Full documentation including termination report can be found at...
That's what I want to know.
Document SCP-2001-9.
They come into contact
Excerpt from Journal of Junior Researchers. Level 4 clearance required. Security mimetic deployed. April 21st, 1990. I wish to state first that my mind and body are perfectly sound. I am prepared to submit myself to any and all tests to prove that I'm clean. I have the answer to SCP-2001. Just yesterday, during an interview with an Alpha-infected D-Class, I was asked a question that stopped my mind for a minute. The woman I was interviewing asked me if I knew the Foundation was right. I said no, I wasn't sure. Then she asked me, what if we were right? I could only assume that by we she meant 2001 carriers. I said nothing for a while, and then she spoke. She told me of a dream she'd had a while ago. She said that something talked to her, told her about how dangerous outer space was. It showed her the beasts that roam the void between the stars, about the fractal beings that absorb the very fabric of reality, about that were keeping in that godforsaken door. And she was scared. She told me that at the end of the dream, as she woke up, it told her what it was. It's all of space. Space fears for us. We're living, breathing life forms, and space loves us and cherishes us. She asked me if I had any idea what the chances of intelligent life forming on another planet are, and then she told me a number that took 1.5 minutes to recite. By this point, I couldn't speak. I started thinking about the demographics of infection, about the symptoms, and suddenly, it all made sense. Some of the things she said stuck in my brain, and they all added up to the same thing. We are in grave danger if we go out there. We can't go out there. We can't go out there.
That's how they get infected.
We can't. There's a reason behind SCP-2001, and it's nowhere near as terrifying as all my colleagues think. Space wants to protect us.
Basically
There are
just
things
got
out there that
infected.
would wipe humanity clean off this plane of existence. And we're too precious to our mother, to our host, to the universe we live in, for her to allow that to happen. What I'm going to do tomorrow is not a result of infection. It's not a result of madness. It's not a result of anything other than purest knowledge. You see, I found out the truth. And it's more beautiful than I ever could have dreamed.
Spoken like a true heretic.
Addendum. April 30th, 1990.
Wow, that doesn't
Research
sound
into
occult,
potential
huh?
memetic qualities of SCP-2001 is currently ongoing. Transcript of email from Head of SCP-2001 Research Team to Site Director, October 21st, 2000. Level 4 clearance required. Security memetic deployed. The research team and I have just made a rather unsettling
It's a
discovery
really, really
regarding
cool sound effect.
SCP-2001. Our suspicions were piqued when we found journal. First, the writing leading up to the day of the
Somebody's
incident was entirely different in tone than the rest of the journal. He rants and raves about space for pages and pages. It's as if he just spewed his brain onto the page. Second, it wasn't something he would ever do. End the lives of 5 Foundation astronauts the way he did.
Right.
That's something we neglected to mention about 2001's Alpha strain. That individuals seeking to interfere with manned space travel will not undertake actions outside their moral reasoning. This meant that the Alpha strain of SCP-2001 was safer than it seemed. Or so we thought. See, we proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that did have SCP-2001. All the symptoms he displayed were completely on target for the Alpha strain, with the exception of his final actions. So we researched it. More specifically, we researched the D-class that he talked to on the day before the crash. We sent subjects into her cell and asked her to talk to them. She said just about the same thing to most people, with a couple of exceptions. When she talked to certain subjects, she would pepper her rants with a couple of distinct phrases. And what we discovered was that the individuals who responded to these phrases began to behave in a similar manner to on the day of the crash.
Like memetic.
By now, I'm sure you can
like a
deduce
memetic
what we
trigger.
learned from these findings. It appears there is some sort of 4th strain, one that functions differently from any of the 3 we have encountered before. We call it Alpha Prime. It is a memetic variant propagated by certain individuals afflicted with the Alpha strain through the use of several trigger phrases.
Wow.
If a listener responds to those phrases, the symptoms of Alpha Prime begins to develop,
how they
though
catch
not
it.
much more potent than the regular Alpha strain in terms of the carrier's attitude towards space exploration. It does have the additional effect of overriding the moral code of its hosts. We don't know exactly to what lengths an Alpha
That's
Prime
strong,
carrying
man.
subject would go to prevent us from engaging in manned space travel. Perhaps therein lies the most worrying element of this newfound strain. We know next to nothing about it.
Right.
It is the opinion of myself and many members of the research team that this information should be kept separate from the official SCP-2001 documentation, including the findings about the moral restrictions of the standard Alpha strain. We don't know how many individuals have succumbed to the words of their Alpha-inflicted colleagues, and we don't want a mass outbreak of paranoia and fear among Foundation personnel. If word spreads about a sociopathy-inducing memetic variant of 2001, we have no idea what could happen within our ranks. Quite frankly, we don't want to find out.
I do though.
Standard SCP-2001 checks are still in order for all sites. Tell the mobile task forces to keep rounding up the Alpha strains and sending them to me. After all, we've got the counter names to develop. We secure, we contain, we protect. Level 4 Research Head.
Very cool, man.
This concludes
cool.
today's lecture. Thank you all for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye.
Man, listening to someone say something and responded to it is like, it's like the most convincing thing you can think of, right? Oh gosh, the way that it's transmitted just seems crazy, and it's just anti-space. It's so weird, but people go into extreme lengths to sabotage stuff with the Alpha strain and get even worse, override that moral code after that memetic trigger goes off is crazy, man. Cool way to spread it too. This was a very interesting SCP, guys. SCP-2001. Make sure to subscribe to the Vulcan. Subscribe to me if you like reaction videos too. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off. We'll see you next time.